I'm joined by Lauren Myers. She is a Hoboken resident who is running in the 6th Ward Council race on November 7th. It's a three-way battle. Lauren, thank you for taking the time to speak with me on Hudson TV. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
First thing I want to ask you, professionally, I mentioned you're an attorney. What type of law do you practice?
I practice general commercial litigation, but I also do some government representation as well as some appellate work.
Okay, so you obviously have a lot on your plate professionally. I guess the first thing I want to ask you is, why are you running for council? Why do you want to get involved as a city council member?
Sure. Yes, while I have a busy career as a lawyer, I think that being a city council person would complement my career very well. I've always been civically engaged starting age. I worked for my local village buildings department. I worked for a state assembly person. I worked for a U.S. Congressperson. And I just am very passionate about giving back to the community. I'm new to the Hoboken political landscape, but I've been living in Hoboken for a few years now, and I immediately became involved in the community. I'm on the Hoboken Democratic Committee. I'm the president of my condo board, and I'm always meeting people on the street talking about the issues that are most important to them.
Okay, so the 6th Ward is basically right dab slap in the middle of town. What would you say, and from what you've been hearing from your neighbors and the people in and around where you live, what do you consider and what are they saying for them are the main issues for Ward 6 right now?
So I think there are two main issues for the Sixth Ward. The first is public safety and cleanliness. So whether that be an increase in stop signs, better infrastructure on our streets, making sure that our bike lanes are protected, I think that is at the forefront of people's mind in our area, given the amount of traffic that goes through the Sixth Ward. For example, like Park Avenue goes straight up out of Hoboken, and we get a lot of pass-through traffic, and we need to make sure that our streets are safe so that our people walking their dogs and riding their bikes and going to school, that they're protected from the influx of driving we have in our area. And I
What
think the
types of
second,
things would you like to see done with regard to that? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What types of things would you like to see done? What hasn't been done in your opinion?
sure. So in the past 4 years, the Sixth Ward has only received one stop sign. And I think that is a problem. I live across from a public elementary school and down the block from one of the most popular BYOB restaurants in the Sixth Ward, Otto Strada. And there's no stop sign on either corner. So for 3 blocks, people are just zooming down the street and not, maybe in some instances, not aware of the amount of foot traffic that those two corners get from people waiting outside the restaurant and the pick up and drop off at school. So I think we need to better invest in our stop signs in the Sixth Ward, because over the past 4 years, I feel like that has been neglected. The second issue I think that's facing the Sixth Ward is Church Square Park, which is, like you said, right in the middle of the ward. I think that it's important that the park be this central beacon that really brings Hoboken together. And while it's undergoing redevelopment right now, the city actually put out a survey and is commissioning that project. I think that I want to be involved in that discussion, primarily because I hear what people's concerns are. They're concerned about public safety. So we need to make sure that the park is properly lit and that we have those like blue emergency lights in case of an emergency in the park. They're also concerned about making sure that there's space for young families, our older citizens, and dogs alike. And we need to make sure that everyone has sort of like an area of the park that is most useful for them. And I think people really want to see the park become this modernized ground for everyone to go and have a good time and feel safe and enjoy themselves.
You mentioned a bit earlier one of the popular eateries just on the block from where you live. One of the big things that's been in the news in Hoboken in recent weeks involves the rodent situation. How much of an issue, how much of a problem is that do you feel in your ward? Have the steps that the city council has taken to this point been enough? Does more need to be done? What would you like to see done?
Sure. So yes, I think it is a problem in the sixth ward. Just last night, my husband told me that a rat, ran by him on the street. I don't think that the administration or the council acted fast enough in this respect. I know that Councilwoman Giattino just proposed an ordinance to get rid of the parklets, but the rat problem has been going on for months now. And I think that the ordinance itself is insufficient for three reasons. First, parklets make Hoboken very unique, and outdoor dining is something that our young families, our older residents, and visitors really do enjoy about Hoboken. And I think that the council just passed stricter regulations on the cleanliness of parklets a month ago. And we need to give time to see if that improves the issue before we go ahead and get rid of the parklets altogether. And I also think that the parklets provide a safer space for diners to eat. So going back to my points on public safety, drivers can more easily spot a big dining structure on the side of the street, as opposed to if we just have the in and out of small tables and chairs, they might not be expecting that. So I'm concerned that abolishing the parklets and going to a more like streetery, as they call it, sort of model is going to present some public safety issues for the amount of drivers we see in our neighborhood. And third, I think it's important to note that the city of Hoboken gets over $600,000 in revenue from the use of the parklet space. And we would be foregoing that money if we, get rid of the parklets altogether. So I think the rat mitigation is a huge problem. And like I said, the council didn't act fast enough, but I think we need to allow what has been passed to date to see if it works. In addition to, I've said, like, hiring someone whose main job it is to take care of rat mitigation. And I think we need to make sure that, someone is fully devoted to this issue, because it is an issue that I think residents across the city are dealing with and are very unhappy with at the moment.
Another thing that I think you would agree that brings rats out from where they are is development. If their areas are being disrupted by construction, that's going to force them to move. Do you feel that there's too much development going on in the city as a whole, or in your ward in particular? Is that an issue?
Sure. So I don't think the development specifically in the sixth ward is the impetus for this issue, but I do know the development in Weehawken and our surrounding areas has become an issue. As developers, dig further into the ground, it's more likely that the rats will come out. But I do believe that we need reasonable and measured development in Hoboken that maintains the unique attributes of our city. I think that we should be developing on underutilized or unused land. We should be investing in more recreational facilities and parking structures like we are doing on that land. But I think that we have to be mindful to not overcrowd our city and create high-rise buildings that then lead to more trash, that then have the potential to lead to more rats. So I think it's a delicate balance, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be involved in those discussions and make sure that all interests are being represented and thought about when we're considering new development projects.
Something that's always on the minds of residents, wherever they live, taxes, a municipal budget. Is Hoboken's budget bloated? Are there areas you feel that can be cut? And if so, what would they be?
I think the budget is the most important task that the city council is in charge of, and it reflects really what is important to us as a city. But that being said, like, my position is that I will hold the line on taxes and make sure that every dollar that is going towards, that is allocated for a specific item or a project, actually goes there. And I think it's very important to show up to the budget meetings, prepare counter proposals, ask questions. My opponent, Councilwoman Giattino, voted no this year on the budget, but without proposing any counter amendments. And I just think that's not productive. And the residents of the Sixth Ward need someone who's going to look closely at the budget, and instead of just voting no, if we are spending too much, proposing ways to make cuts. And I think that, I'm someone who has the experience to analyze things and ask questions and negotiate. So I'm hopeful that I will get the opportunity to review the budget and make sure that, we are holding the line on taxes and ensuring that every dollar we allocate is spent towards resources that our residents need.
What about affordable housing and rents in town? Is there enough affordable housing available now, and are rents a huge issue, a huge problem, particularly in your ward?
I think that rent is a huge issue globally, and then specifically in Hoboken. Yes. I'm in favor of rent control. I think that there should be a cap on how much landlords can raise the rent each year. I lived at a rental building in Hoboken, and recently, the year after I moved out, actually, they were going to raise their rent to huge amounts. And Councilperson Phil Cohen actually helped make sure that didn't happen. And so I followed that issue closely because I lived there. And I think it's very important that we make sure that Hoboken stays affordable for renters and homeowners alike.
Yeah, well, Ms. Myers, we are out of time. Want to give you the opportunity. Do you want to let the people know how they can learn more about your campaign? Any social media platforms you want to toss out?
Sure, thanks. So you can visit me on my website at laurenmyersforhoboken.com. I'm very active on Instagram. It's also Lauren Myers for Hoboken, or you can email me at hobokenlauren@gmail.com, and I will get back to you very quickly.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me on Hudson TV. Best of luck in the campaign. You got about 3 weeks or so to go. I'm sure you'll be pounding the pavement. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.